On internet. All right, guys, we're live. Welcome to Fish North Georgia's Tuesday Nighter. We got a great show for you guys tonight. Got a couple of young bucks who've accomplished some big things so far in their fishing career on with us. And we're going to talk to them a little bit about college fishing, their future plans, and, of course, what's biting right now. So if you're watching this, hey, we appreciate you. If you're watching it live, make sure you throw out your comments and your questions for these guys. And you know how it is. We'll go anywhere you guys want to go. And, of course, if you're watching at a later date, we appreciate you as well. Make sure you like Fish North Georgia on all our social media channels. And who knows, follow me on Twitter or something like that. We might follow you back. So anyway, guys, they'll start showing up in the comment section. But let's go ahead and introduce tonight's guest, the 2024, you correct me if I say anything wrong, 2024 Strike King Bassmaster College Series OverAll Team of the Year. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
Did I nailed that? So to my left, we got Chase Carey,
sir.
Right? And I'm going to make sure. There you go, in all his glory right there. And to my right, we got Dylan Atkins. See, I said it right there that time. Yeah. So I was saying Atkins here earlier and all that. So what's up, Tony? And cameraman Cletus. Hey, that's a name I ain't recognized. So we appreciate you joining. And we know a lot of you guys, roosters there, a lot of you guys will show up once you get through the commercials and everything. But again, tonight we're going to talk to these young guys about, what they accomplished. If you're fishing on any level, and these guys have been fishing together since high school. Both of you guys, did you say your sophomore year of high school, y'all started fishing together?
Yes, sir.
So you ain't gonna call me sir, man. I ain't that. We don't have no rules right here. At Buford High, that's Buford High School. And then they went together to Emmanuel University. And is that the one that's up in Royston?
Yes,
or just
sir.
above Royston? I used to deer hunt that way. So Joe Adams, Jason Jones, Adam W. Fishing. Hey, appreciate you guys joining us again. Start throwing out questions and all for these young guys because, again, that makes my job a whole lot easier. But you see this trophy right here in front of me. So that's the actual trophy these guys got. There you go. Look at that. 2024 Team of the Year. It's got Bassmaster across the top of it. So that's pretty impressive right there. I'm going to start with you. You were the one asking me what I was going to ask first. So we're going to start with you. Tell us, for those that don't know you, give me a little quick background story on you and how you got into fishing and everything.
Yeah, so my story is actually a little different probably than most. I didn't really fish much growing up. I kind of just, one of my teachers was telling me that he was going to be the high school fishing team coach going into my 9th grade year. And I told him if he was going to end up being, he was one of my favorite teachers. So once he ended up being the coach, I was like, heck, I just want to try and do it. So I told my dad about it, and he went out and bought me a bass boat, and we just started fishing, and we just got super into it. So.
Okay, so what lake? I'm going to assume Lanier?
Yes, we mainly went to Lake Lanier and Lake Hartwell.
Lake Hartwell, so you cut your teeth on that. All right, how about you over there?
I've pretty much been going at it since I could walk.
Yeah, so that's that's what I was going to do. I was listening. I wanted to compare you two. So he got a late start. You've been doing it your entire life.
Yeah, so I pretty much probably started my grandparents' lake house way up the Tugelo and East Sonali Creek on Hartwell. Pretty much start off as any kid fishing for the bluegill, and then I just kept working my way up to catch the biggest thing possible, whether it was carp, gar, I didn't care. I wanted to catch it, and then I started getting competitive, so I started getting into the bass fishing stuff. Really, I watched my brother do it when I was in middle school, and then I think ever since then, I haven't gone like a month without fishing every weekend. So
yeah, okay. So interesting though. You've done it forever. You got a late start, and somehow you two connected in high school. So tell me, either one of you guys can answer this. How did that connection happen? It wasn't over a girl or nothing, was it?
No, it's actually kind of funny. So we had to do a Spanish project.
Can you speak Spanish? Give me something in Spanish right now.
¿Cómo estás?
What's that mean?
How are you?
Okay, how do I say good?
Muy bueno.
Muy bueno. All right, there you go. Right. There's your Spanish lesson for tonight.
Yep.
All right. Keep going with the Spanish.
Yeah, so I think sophomore year, we had to do like a play, I guess, in Spanish. And I was like, all right, we'll just do it at my house. So Chase showed up, and we had been fishing just the GHSF trail. And then we kind of got talking to knowing each other. We wanted to fish the one that traveled to different lakes besides Lanier and Hartwell. So we got together and started fishing that one. And then the rest is pretty much history. We both decided to go to Emmanuel. And then most teams, when they go to like are both partners when they go to college. They aren't going to make it all 4 years, just how things are.
Right.
But I mean, we just stuck it out. We worked together good. So
you get along.
Just to kind of add on to what he was saying, like another thing is when we first started, we were both like on the team and we were both pretty competitive, but he was fishing with his sister at the time. I was fishing with somebody that wasn't so into it. It was kind of like their secondary thing.
Right.
But to us, like it was very important to us. So we decided to go and fish. In the GHSF, we decided to fish with our partners that we had, but then the travel part, his dad was committed, my dad was committed. So we decided to go into that together because we were both like super competitive and we really wanted to go and like win, compete in these tournaments.
Okay. No, I get that. So now y'all are kind of like a couple.
Yeah, we've gotten to that point.
I mean, no Brokeback Mountain or nothing, but you're like a couple together right now.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Well,
yeah, our families are pretty close. Our sisters are roommates at Georgia, so we're pretty much united.
Okay.
we get along. I mean, obviously you're going to have like your moments where you disagree with them, but that's also what makes you better, in my opinion, when you both decide to stick it out together and we have disagreements on something that betters ourselves. So.
Okay, that was my next. I always love how these relationships form a little bit. Yeah. So when you guys are kind of figuring each other out, you looked at him, you looked at Dylan, you're like, all right, this is his strong suit and this is his weak suit. And be honest, what did you think he was really good at, and what did you think he needed some work on?
In high school, like fishing was like my main sport, and then Dylan also had football. So like I kind of could help him a little bit on like the pre-practice stuff because he would have football on Fridays while I could be able to go fish. And I'm super competitive. So like on tournament day, and I think that also us competing in high school against each other both drove us to compete against, like it was fighting to see who's the better angler while we were still partners in a different league. Right.
Hey, no, I like that. I
think the competitive part, like Dylan was always like, when I first started fishing, it was solely competitive. And so like, I like to win at the time, which I still like to,
Oh, for sure. No, listen, that's why I play the game.
But I think me getting into it and being super competitive, Dylan seeing that, he was like, oh yeah, I want to get super competitive and I want to beat him. And then when we got to college, it just kind of like, we just took off from there.
I got it. Now, same question to you. You're looking at him, thinking about him being a future partner. What did he need to work on, and what was he good at?
He obviously has the competitive factor down, but I mean, we both equally taught each other different things when it came to like fishing different ways. Because I think when he first started, he was like mainly a finesse fisherman is what I would call it.
Yeah.
And I kind of did like a little bit of both. So I would be going like offshore, some at Lanier, but also grew up in the creek. So, you got a little bit of buzz bait, jig, spinnerbait action.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we're going to talk about that, about you young guys like that.
And I think going forwards, the main thing that we really like came together on was I'm like a really big research guy. So before I go to like these places, I would do all kinds of research and then I'd break it down to him and then we'd both come together. He would critique it a lot to make it work the way it should, like both of us together. But that's, I mean, in all honesty, that's like how we like came together to do so good in these tournaments is I'd find stuff, he'd put his input in, and then together it just kind of blends and makes it work,
Okay, that's good. That's the way marriage is supposed to be. All right. So now, do y'all know Max Heat? Is it Heaton right there? The very first one.
Yeah,
I know you got to know that because the very first question is: does Chase prefer throwing the Wanderer or the Rizzler when it's windy? Now, there's got to be a backstory to that a little bit. So, is that one of your buddies up there?
Yeah, it's one of our buddies. I don't really know what a Rizzler is, but as far as a fishing bait, but
yeah,
I mean,
I
guess a Wanderer is pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good
there's a
bait to throw in the wind.
All right, so either one of you guys, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Either one of you guys can answer this from Eric B. Richards because I know he's got a son that's going to be fishing high school. Best way to promote yourself in high school for college scholarships besides winning, of course. Now that's one thing. A lot of guys are into fishing. Now it wasn't when I was in high school. We didn't have none of this. So you guys are pretty blessed. I wish fishing was around in high school. But a lot of guys are into it. A lot of schools have teams. If you're an up-and-coming angler, now that you've gone through high school and you're in college, maybe some advice, on trying to find scholarships or sponsors or anything, lessons you guys have learned because now you're experienced pros, at this. Yeah. Either one of you guys can answer on that.
I mean, I think just getting in touch, like if you're really interested in being a college angler, I think just getting in contact with coaches is a big thing. Like that's one thing that Dylan did. Like we didn't really have like a crazy like resume coming out of high school. Like we just fished local stuff.
Right.
And we only had 2 years of travel fishing in Georgia. But Dylan got in contact with Pam, and that's how he got his scholarship. And then he referred me, and then that's how we eventually got the scholarship. And then you saw where we weren't
right here.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say and I'm not saying that in like a whatever way. I'm just saying that as far as if you have to want it, right? Like you have to really want to like go out and because it doesn't matter what experience you have in high school. Like I had, like for me, for example, all I knew was brush pile, drop shot, top water, stuff like that. And that's when Dylan really helped me out in that stuff. But like I said, you just have to go out there and you just have to want it to really be a college fisherman. And then, like I said, to promote yourself, just contact coaches. Like that's probably the best way. And then also being on social media helps a little bit.
I got it. Which leads into the next question from Jason Jones, because I was going to ask this question right here too. When did your mindset go from high school aspirations to I'm doing this as far as fishing goes? When that change happened, what specifically about your routines changed, if anything? And that's kind of too, what I was going to ask is, when did you decide you want to go, pursue this in college? What are you laughing at? Hinkle?
Comments.
Yeah. Oh, listen, the comments are going to drive you crazy all night.
We got to stop looking down at the comments.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen, everybody knows that on the Fish North Georgia podcast, the live one, everything, the comments drive.
That's right.
They drive the show. They make my job so much easier. So, yeah, when's your mindset change? Like, okay, we're just a couple of Yahoo kids fishing in high school. They're like, no, we're pretty good. We might could go to college doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I think whenever, like, I had a signing day thing, and I signed, and I was like I'm sitting here signing a fishing scholarship beside 7 kids going to play D1 football. And I'm like, man, this is you
got to be at signing day with all them guys.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
That's a big deal at Buford, considering half the football team goes pro.
Yeah.
But that is pretty awesome. So you at least in school got recognized.
Oh yeah, I think when me and him were both in high school, we really blew the fishing program up and tried to promote it. Both our dads did a lot of work with that, just sponsors, trying to get people involved and show them, because it was fairly new at that time, even 4 years in or 6 years in, just trying to show people that it's actually a sport, because everybody's like, oh, that ain't a sport, that's luck,
right?
I've heard it a million times, but just trying to show people what it actually is and what it entails and everything like that.
Yeah, and I noticed I was thinking when you were making your comments about you two finding, fishing together and all that, when you decided you were going to go to college, did you want him coming along with you? I mean, seriously, did you consider that in your decision?
Yeah, he didn't have quite a decision yet. I was off the rip, I'm going, and I think he was still on the fence, but it worked out and he decided to come. It just took him a little bit longer to decide.
You had to decide. Hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
But did you always have the desire to go fish in college?
I didn't. I really was just planning on going to UNG, and then he come to me and he was like, hey man, I'm going. I want you to come with me. And I was like, all right. And I took 3 days to really think about it. And I was like, why not? Luckily my parents, they have a lake house on Lake Hartwell. Yeah. So I got to stay there for a year and stuff. So I was like, it's not a bad deal going up there.
Well, that sounds like a cool gig right there.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Might as well go. And I was like, might as well go and try it. You can always transfer out if you didn't like it. But once we started fishing, it's kind of like that, going back to that comment where he said, when did we get aspirations to really do it? We thought we could really do it, was really the first tournament we had on Gunnersville. We got up there and I think we finished 30th something. I don't know, but it wasn't a crazy finish or anything, but we were just 2 freshmen that never traveled and all that. Yeah. We had never traveled outside of the state, really, only maybe a couple times fishing, and we go to this tournament and do decently well, and we were hey, we could actually be pretty decent. So
So
how long did it take for y'all to actually be able to start competing with some of the college guys?
Yeah. So
was it an instant thing, or did it take a year or two?
I think our first tournament was Gunnersville. We missed qualifying for nationals out of that tournament by a half a pound or a pound or something. And then from there, just set the fire. We're going to qualify for every single national championship we can throughout the years. And so that was an MLF tournament. And then after that, we started fishing the college bass trail, BASS. And we actually finished 4th in the AOI that year. And I think just we had a pretty good year that year. And we were man, we were so close, because I think second got a cool check and trophy. And we're we want that. And then we never really had it line up quite for us. We were team consistency, but not quite above that breaking line. Right. And then finally our last year it just lined up together and we really hit good lakes and just, just connected on our fish and it worked out. So.
I think also like freshman year, we had a lot of like first day we'd catch them really good. And then second day we'd have like a mishap or something, like just something go wrong. Right. Yeah. But I think that helped us in the long run for this year, especially because it drove us. Like we got that fire to like, hey, let's do this better so that we can be that one little bit better to compete and actually maybe win the whole thing. It kind of like, I guess it kind of like showed us that we could do it. Yeah. And so then once you know that you have the possibility of doing it, you're like, all right, let's
I get it. Let's go. Yeah. Hey, scroll up on them comments a little bit. And guys, listen, if I miss a comment or question, pop it down there again because we get a lot of them and I miss them all the time. Let's see. Go up one more. Go on up. Okay, I got that question. That was Jason Jones. So now Andy Anderson. You know Andy? You know who that is? You know who Andy is? I like Andy. Was Coosa an important part of y'all's success in college?
That's the mascot.
Yeah, that's our team mascot.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's Coach Pam's dog.
Coach Pam.
Yeah, so our mascot's technically a lion.
So your coach up there was a female?
Yes.
Okay. Which is that a little bit different or is that the norm? I mean, we're learning this as you go about college.
I mean, I think she can probably cook better than most males. So.
Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I got no problem with it, but it was and fish. That was my question. Can she fish?
Oh, she can fish.
Yeah. Okay, good. There you go. Yeah. All right, so she's certified right there. Not only is Chase a great fisherman, he also knows how to captain and coach those high school boys. So you go back and help out a little bit?
Yeah, my freshman year of college, I had some buddies that were seniors in high school and they wanted to fish. And I told them, I was like, hey, we can do it. So I captained them and we ended up I think we won a tournament. This is the GHSF trail, the Georgia High School Fishing Trail. We won a tournament and we finished like top 5 in 4 of them and ended up winning the points. And they went to MLF Nationals. So
there you
go. That was a pretty cool experience freshman year too. So.
Yeah, there you go. Now I noticed that you ain't got to scroll up. There was a comment up there from one Brian Hinkle about how nice that hat looked. So you're representing Hinkle Marine there.
Yeah, he's been sponsoring me for probably like 6 years. So
yeah,
I gotta rep the people that support you.
Hey, listen, Mr. Hinkle, I need some sponsors for the Tuesday night show. I wear your hat every single Tuesday night. We need to talk. So I assume that this is your sister, Emily.
That would be her.
Okay. Do you know their sisters are their biggest role models? So
I don't know about
now
that.
They're at Georgia right now, right? You said both your sisters room together.
Yeah.
Now, how much of a role did your sisters play in your fishing success? And you better answer it right because a woman that's scorned, man, they don't forget things.
Yeah, my sister, she was my fishing partner, and I actually have a funny story about this. So she's so competitive that actually one tournament we had 5 fish in the live well, and I'd caught 4 of them, and she had caught 1, and it was like a 2-pounder. And so
way to go, girl.
Yeah, I cast it out there, and I caught one that was like 3 pounds. We had to call her fish out, and she actually pitched a fit on the back deck because we were throwing her fish out the back of the boat. And she says, "That's not fair." Dylan called them on. I was like, Emily, I had to remind her that we're a team, that we're competing against other people, not against each other.
Right.
So that was a funny story.
So she was willing to take the L to keep her 2-pound fish.
That's what it seemed like. Yeah. But I think after a little bit of conversation, she realized that that's not the right way to go.
Okay, but let me ask you this conversation. Was it colorful? I mean, did you have to really dig in and stand your ground and say, this is the way it's got to be?
I think I kind of just gave my input and then let Dad deal with it, and I went back to the front.
Oh, well, listen, that's smart man. Smart man right there. So, Emily, thank you for joining us tonight like that. That's awesome. So, JT Witt wants to know, and Chase, you can answer this first, and Dylan, then you can do it. Who are your biggest role models, and how has that translated to your fishing career? Now, your role model doesn't necessarily have to be an angler either.
Yeah.
Who's your biggest role models?
I think my biggest role model is both of our dads. I mean, I think they are the reason, they're the biggest reason why we are here. Like, we had won that award. Like, for one, they taught us a lot. They went out there every time we went fishing in high school. They were there every single time. I think they were with us so much that when we got into college, it hurt them a lot to see us go off by ourselves. Yeah, they couldn't be in the boat with us.
You guys have grown up and floating the coop and all like that. So that's cool, though. Yeah. That is one thing, though, with high school fishing is you do get a lot of time, father-son, or mother son, something like that. Now you're grinning over here. Is that the same answer? We'll get to all them other ones.
Yeah, my answer is pretty much the same. I got
smart one
both
since
of our
he's right
dads.
behind you.
Oh yeah, well, both of them. And then my grandpa too. He had a big factor in it also.
Okay, James Laws. Ask Chase about his national championship in high school.
Yeah, I fished. I was fortunate enough to fish a high school national championship for bass my sophomore year in high school.
Right.
And actually, that was my partner, James Laws was my partner that we fished together on Kentucky Lake. We qualified on Hartwell. So, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. We didn't do so well, but that Kentucky Lake that time of year. So
we're gonna blame it on the lake.
Yeah, we're blaming it on the lake.
We're blaming it on the lake. So
we went back and got our revenge this past.
Okay, good. There you go. So what about your sister?
My sister?
Yeah, what about your sister? We heard about his.
My sister, she's awesome. She doesn't do much for fishing wise, but she's there for moral support.
Yeah,
moral support.
That's a smart way to answer. My sisters are awesome.
That's right.
All right, so now what about their brothers? Good Lord, there's been a lot of family watching. Y'all got brothers too?
Yeah, I got a little brother who's he's at Buford right now playing football, so he's in 9th grade.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm. He's wanting to fish, so I'm actually captaining him this year.
Now you didn't play football, right?
No, I did not.
I mean, let's be honest. You're about my height and everything. Now, is your brother a big dude?
Yeah, he's a lot bigger than me.
He's the one that got all the food.
He's my height and about 180 pounds, while I'm about more like 140. So
hey, listen, that's all right.
He plays offensive line, so we're built a lot different.
Well, I'm gonna say this: if you're playing offensive line for Buford, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
y'all had a good football team for a while. I went over there with Dawson. My son played high school in Dawson, but this is before he got in high school. I think we got beat 70-3, 70-7, like that. But I will say your facilities are very nice over there. Y'all got a hell of a football field.
Yeah.
So got to be the best right there. So
that's right.
Chase's dad is good people, Derek White. So there you go. Mr. White says you're good people right there.
They're both. He knows.
Oh, okay. Well, daggum, I got the kids. Yeah, I just saw Dad and boom. So he wouldn't say that about you. So you're laying down the law with Emily. Mackenzie Feder. Do we know Mackenzie?
Yeah, does.
That's my brother's girlfriend.
Your brother's girlfriend?
Everybody's watching.
Huh?
Everybody's watching.
I'm sitting there like, I got to figure out all the family connections and all that. So you eat bananas on the boat?
That's a hard no.
Do you really believe in that?
I don't believe in it, but I don't feel like testing it.
Listen, I eat everything in the boat. It might be why I don't catch no fish, but I've never understood the banana thing. I know a lot of people are like that. You don't eat bananas on a boat, but it is what it is. Now, my buddy Brooks Anderson right there, my second favorite redhead in the world because my son's number one. But did you realize the fish you hooked while cranking on check? Did you realize the fish you hooked while cranking on check? So which one's that? What is he talking about?
That was me when I was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
I was we were fishing Lake Chickamauga. I was a freshman in high school, not college.
Right.
And we were fishing Lake Chickamauga. It was like our high school state thing. I don't even know what it was, but I was throwing a big deep diving crankbait, and I was just reeling it, and I just hung into something. I didn't know what I thought I was hung for a second, but it was actually an 8-pound bass. It was my biggest, still one of my. I think it's my second biggest bass now to this day. So.
Yeah, nothing like just thinking you're hungry.
Yeah,
There's an 8-pounder on the end of it. So Brooks, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Charles Wisdom. I'm terrible with names too, so you guys know. Those that watch us regularly, I mispronounce everybody's name. But Charles wants to know how much of a rivalry is there between all the guys at Emmanuel? Because there's quite a few sticks. And I know a couple of them that go up there that have gone through there. So what is the culture like at Emmanuel as far as college fishing?
I mean, it's pretty close, and we definitely have a rivalry, but we teach each other a ton of stuff. I mean, we're constantly going to the lakes in the afternoons when we can, and then hey, how'd you catch them today? And we don't always say everything, but we try to throw each other a few bones. We'll have little team rivalry tournaments for fun, trap each other in one creek and see who can catch the biggest fish, just crazy stuff like that. So it's a good rivalry.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say you're going in a tournament, you got two Emmanuel teams, you two, and just say another one. Say you're in second, the other team's in first. The night before the last day, explain to me a little bit about that, because I get some of these pros on here that room together, and I'm always interested in what it's like, because they room together, 5 or 6 of them, how much information they share. But I'm always curious about that final day. If you got two of them going into, championship day, 2 pounds separating them, how much of that information sharing is going on, or do you just kind of keep your distance a little bit?
So actually, I think one year on Saginaw Bay, I think it was 2022, 2 years ago. Us and Brooks Anderson and Parker Guy were sharing a spot on Saginaw Bay, and they were competing for AOY at the time, our team of the year at the time, and we were just competing to qualify at the time. So we actually I mean, it wasn't like kind of the situation you're talking about, but like we were both like, hey, you know, we'll stay over here, you stay over here, we can both catch our fish. You know, it was just kind of like a mutual thing. Yeah, it was just a mutual thing. Hey, you found in practice, we found in practice. You know, we'll work together, and it kind of worked out because we kind of defended everybody else off on the spot.
Two boats right there.
We had 2 boats kind of on the 2 best spots, and everybody else was around us.
Y'all pull some Johnston brothers?
Oh, no, we didn't.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding right there. How about this? I love these kind of questions. One college y'all can't stand. I mean, tell me honestly, the college that you fished, if they showed up, you couldn't stand them. Maybe not the people, just the college.
I don't know if it's like necessarily the college or the people, but golly, when you go to a tournament, there's so many Montevallo boats. It feels like you're seeing them in every corner. Yeah, there'll be like 40 boats a tournament, and you just come around the corner like, there's another one every time. And then it just like kind of adds up because, like, you know, everybody has their first spot they want to go to. Then so many times you go to it and there's a Montevallo boat on it. I think they just start combining in your head. Yeah. And it just kind of fuels the fire like, man, this Montevallo boat's everywhere, but it's actually 40 different ones. Yeah.
So that's a lot of boats to bring.
Oh, yeah.
So what is the average college? How many boats does the average college bring to a tournament?
Bass tournaments, I think it's around like 250.
Okay, so it's 250 in that, but how many like per school? Like you guys, what would y'all normally bring?
I think we normally travel like what, 10 people, use it 10 to 12?
Different teams.
Yeah, we like split it up based on like some people would fish a certain trail, especially now that there's 2 BASS trails. We'd have 2 different trails. Then some people will fish MLF, and then some people would fish like trying to fish as many as you can. It all depends on how many you can fish with your school days, and then also like depending on your like I guess like team ranking you could say or something like that.
Okay.
So
yeah, so you agree with that?
Yeah, luckily Coach Pam doesn't really like put a limit on who can go to what. Now she does like put a limit on like, hey, this is the tournaments I'm paying for you. And then, but that all is depending on, you know, what she thinks is best.
Yeah.
But she doesn't say, hey, you can't go to that.
So like you can pay for another, like you could pay for a tournament outside of your normal schedule if y'all wanted to.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. Max wants to know who are y'all's best friends on the EC Bass team. What is EC? Oh, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who's your best friend?
I mean,
you got to answer that question.
I'm friends with all of them, but
smart.
I had the unfortunate circumstance to room with Brooks Anderson for 2 years, so he's one of my real good friends.
Okay, smart. How about you?
Yeah. Just because Max answered it, or just because Max asked the question, I guess I'll say Max.
You say Max. There you go. So Chuck Crawford. Hey, I tell you what, I don't have any of these hoodies back there in the 2X, but I'm getting a whole new shipment in very soon. I'm getting ready to place that order, so I'll have them before it gets cold. So I will put them on our website. Of course, you can always come up here and see us at Fish North Georgia. So I had it. That's what I wore a True Grit hoodie today, filming for the TV show. So I had to change it up to the ops in the night and all that. All right,
I got a question.
You got a question?
So I think it was a podcast I was listening to. They were breaking down, going back to how many teams per college are able to fish the events. There's some colleges they'll only take like the top 2 or 3 teams, correct? Like they won't invite all the teams. Like they have to kind of broke down, correct?
With his feet all stuck up there. He don't like the light shining in his face right there. So mystery man in the darkness back there. What was that school? I heard one school that was in. What's that good school in Tennessee? I know there's several, but it's like
you're probably thinking like Bethel.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but I heard that they only allow like 1 or 2, like, and that a freshman doesn't get to fish certain tournaments, or I mean,
I think it's like something with like I think it's like Montevallo, maybe even Adrian. Like some of them, like if you're a freshman or sophomore, you don't get to travel. It's like you fish local stuff for 2 years, and then the juniors, seniors go and they fish whatever, unless like you have a pedigree of doing well traveling. Like they're always going to send whoever their best guys are, to a tournament. Which, I don't necessarily agree with. I'm kind of big on you fish what you want to fish.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think that freshman and sophomore year, we learned so much on like what to get better at, and it helped us so much our junior, senior year. So I wouldn't trade those 2 years of getting to travel for anything.
Absolutely. So Derek White, I definitely was going to get onto this, and we might as well go ahead and jump on it right now. He said, "I know Chase fished before the forward-facing sonar craze. Has it made you a better angler?" So let me phrase that question: has forward-facing sonar made you a better angler? both of you both can answer that. So you fished your entire life, so I know you fished before it came out. Has it made you a better angler? And then I'm going to kind of tweak that question a little bit after y'all answer that.
I think it can do both. I think it can spin you out and lead you down a cycle of like, especially when you go to these TVA lakes, everybody thinks you can just go out there and pinpoint a fish, but there's like 10 million carp, all kinds of trash fish, white bass, all stuff everywhere. So
Yeah,
I think it like some lakes, it can make you a way better angler, but can also do the opposite. And then at the same time, fishing before that, you learned like specific things that fish do and other things before forward-facing sonar. And forward-facing sonar is not going to just magically help you win everything. Because like our freshman year when we finished fourth in the AOI, I know we were competing against kids who had it early, and we finished fourth without even using it. So, I mean, if you don't like – I feel like if you don't learn the basics, there's some lakes that no matter what you do, you're still not going to be able to compete on. Forward-facing sonar is not going to help you completely destroy the field on certain fisheries.
okay, I agree with that. What's your take?
I mean, you got to be able to still know like what the fish are doing. Like you just because you can see the fish on live doesn't make you be on top of the fish, right? Like you still have to go. You're only going to be within 100 feet of them still, so you still have to know where they are and like what to look for on mapping and stuff like that. But I mean, has it helped me become a better angler? I would say it has, but I don't think it's. I still think you have to be able to,
Do the
fish without it. You still have to be able to fish without it.
Which leads me into this question, because I've had a lot of young guys. I know Brooks he's probably heard this question come out of my mouth. How does it make you feel, given the landscape today and professional fishing and everything, all the comments, the Randy Blockett's of the world and everything, when you see these comments, the young generation, this generation can't fish. They're nothing but video game kids. They don't have the basic skills. Without forward-facing sonar, they would not really exist. How does that make you guys feel?
It just, I mean, I feel for them in some ways, but at the same time, it doesn't add up to me because you got the Jordan Lees of the world, the Louis Manettis who won the AOI 2 years ago. I mean, they go out in these fields and they're still competing. They were competing before it and they're still competing now. So, like, I mean, I get it. Like, what's your excuse? But there's dudes that are still doing it. They're fish the old way. Kyle Welcher, I used to watch his swim jig and frogging videos, and he can compete that way or he can go compete with forward-facing sonar. So, I get the MPFL banned it. You're going to see like a bunch of people go to it, but at the same time, there's still going to be dudes who are going to compete no matter what.
Yeah. So what's your take?
I feel like it's a tool that you have to learn how to use, just like when side scan came out, or just like when anything else that first came out.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to use the tool to make you become a better angler, because that's what it is. Like you as an angler and how you fish, like you're given the tools to learn. And I think that us younger generation, because we are younger and we have a little bit more, maybe more time on our hands, we get to use it more, and we've learned how to use it probably a little bit better than maybe the older generation has.
Okay. You brought it up. You brought up the MPFL. So we all know that yesterday the MPFL banned it for the 2025 season. What's your take on that?
I mean, I think it's their decision. I think they'll definitely pull a certain class of anglers, but I'm really curious to see. I don't know. I mean, I know like on the football field, if I'm over 6'5", they don't ban me from playing the sport. So I don't understand that part of it, but I guess we'll find out. They didn't ban 360. And I know like I wasn't really around when like side imaging came out, but I didn't know if there was like a crazy ban during when that came out.
Yeah.
But I'll be very interested to see how many people fish it, and then also how successful it is, because you got to realize these fish are still going to see forward-facing sonar from your local anglers on a daily basis. They're not going to just go back to the way that they were used to before it.
Right.
So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the weights are, and then also how much input they get from sponsors and stuff. Because I don't know specifically about MPFL, but I know other trails, it's a really big money input for electronics companies.
Yeah, the MPFL, as far as Humminbird, Garmin, Lowrance, they don't have any of those sonar sponsors. What's your take on it?
I mean, I don't really.
And listen, be honest.
I don't really. I think it's cool. I mean, I don't know, like, as far as that league goes, but I mean, I think it's cool to have something, an option to not have live, maybe, I mean, because everybody has different tastes. And if that's what you want to go do, is you want to go fish without it, then go fish without it. Now you have an option to go and be a, I guess, professional angler through a different route. Yeah. Without having to compete with people that do use live, right? So.
Right. Okay. So now let me give you just a straight up yes or no. Just straight up yes or no. Do you agree with the ban or not? And it's okay. I mean, they're not going to come after us.
No, I kind of took the side. So BFL sent us a survey like 3 weeks ago. If you fished a BFL, it's like you can vote for unlimited options, a limit of screen size and transducer, and then none of it at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of picked the middle ground where I was like, I think a transducer limit would be okay, like a screen size, but I don't think fully banning it is going to happen. But like, even if they do, I think both of us are so competitive that we're just going to go compete with whatever.
You'll do it anyway. So
it's just like,
you may not agree with it, but you would still fish it.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it before it. I love fishing before forward facing sonar. So it's not really going to change me. I'm going to still compete either way and try my best with whatever tools I'm allowed to use, just like every other sport in the world does.
Right. Very, very good answer. You, yes or no?
As far as that question.
Do you agree with it or not?
I don't agree with it. As far like I said, I think it's cool, but I'm just gonna say I don't agree with it. But I also want to point out that just because like we use live now, right? Like we have used it to catch some key fish in tournaments, but we've also caught a ton of fish without live that were key to us winning Angler of the Year, right? So I mean, there's tons of things like I don't know. I just think it's people hype it up to be like this is the only thing people are catching fish on now. You know what I mean? But it's not.
That's not realistic. Yeah. Well, I know yesterday was a very emotional day for a lot of people. Everybody jumped on. I got caught up in it as well. Everybody jumped in on their side of the fences, and you know how it is when something first comes out. You make that first initial, reaction. But it will be kind of interesting to see once the water's clear, who stays, who goes, and then just how the fishing is in 2025. So I get that. But the big thing with me is you young guys y'all always catch crap in all the comments. I mean, I think if you're under 30 today, you catch crap in every single YouTube video that's where it's brought up, and people just have assumed that you guys can't fish any other way. So that's got to be a little bit, a little extra motivation. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really ever pay attention to any of that. But
well, you go like that. So, how many championships did your brother win fishing at Georgia?
That's a Dylan question.
Yeah, okay.
He made it to one, but he didn't quite win it. He did most of his time studying for accounting.
Oh, he's a bean counter, huh?
Yep, he loves the numbers.
Listen, that God bless your soul right there, because I try to do that, and there ain't no way in the world. That drives me crazy. He's a what? Intramural champion? Three-time how do you say intramural?
Intramural.
Like, dude, I can't pronounce nothing, man. I'm over here, Billy from North Georgia. Pontoon Jody catfishing. What's going on, girl? Andy Anderson. Now, listen, Andy. I'm scared. I am scared to ask this question because this got brought up before the show, and I couldn't keep up with it. So tell us about the college bracket coming up at the end of the month and what the winner gets. Now, I got the prizes, but everything you told me before the show, go ahead and repeat that. You guys, if you want to keep up with it, you better get out a pad and pencil right here. So go ahead.
All right. So you got your 2 BASS college trails. You take both AOIs from that, and then your overall Angler of the Year winner from whenever both those trails points combined into nationals. And then so that's your 3 teams, and then you also have your winner from nationals. So that's 4 teams, 8 anglers. And then from there, you go to a solo team, so it's just yourself. And then all 8 anglers fish 2 days on a fishery, and then it shrinks down to 4, the top 4. And then from there, it goes 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. Then whoever wins those 2 versus each other, and then that's your bracket champion.
I'm glad you had to explain that because I got confused before the thing. I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah. So to also clear up a little bit, like this year, college bass, I guess because years past, their tournaments filled they filled up before, and a bunch of people were waitlisted. Like I think it was 130 people waitlisted. So they decided to go to 2 divisions this year.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a Lunkers Trail and a Legends Trail.
Any differences?
So the only difference is the 3 lakes.
All right.
So there was 3 lakes on the Lunkers and then 3 on the Legends. I think the trail we fished was Murray, Kentucky Lake, and Saginaw Bay, and then the other one was Clark's Hill. I can't remember the other one. Some lake in Tennessee.
I was looking you guys up, but I remember
some lake in Tennessee, and then another lake. But anyways, so those 2 trails, there was a points championship in those 2 separate trails, like Dylan was saying. So 2 teams can qualify, or 1 team can qualify for each trail to get the fish this bracket.
Right.
So me and Dylan, we missed out on our trail to qualify for the bracket through that way. So then that's how you get 1 team each for both. And then those 2 trails at the end of the year come and they combine the points so that they can, the total angler of the year points goes on to Lake Hartwell, which was our championship.
Right.
So then that's how you get 2 more of your college bracket teams, which is the winner of the actual tournament, the national championship, and then us as the winner of the team of the year. So
if you say so.
Yeah.
If you say so.
Now, could y'all have fished both the leagues?
No, you
had to pick one or the other.
You had to pick one or the other.
Yeah,
yes.
I think that's what I saw. So JT Witt's got a couple questions, but I know one up above that we're not going to scroll back to. What's your favorite baits? So if you could pick one bait, what's your favorite? And Dylan will ask you yours.
I think based off this year, probably a Demiki. And I don't.
Demiki?
Yeah.
I know that's fine. That's fine. What about yours?
I like seeing them blow up on stuff, so pretty much any topwater bait.
Topwater. So you're a visual guy. You like that blow up. I get that. Derek White wants to know, what is each of y'all's biggest spotted bass on Lake Lanier?
Mine.
Yeah, and then what's your biggest fish outside of Lake Lanier?
My biggest spotted bass on Lake Lanier, I think was like 5 pounds, maybe.
Right around 5?
Right around 5. I can't remember exactly. I've caught a couple like right at 5.
All right, and how about outside of Lanier? Just biggest fish all around, largemouth, spot, smallmouth, whatever.
So I actually caught like an almost like 8-pounder on Lanier, but then I caught an actual 8-pounder. I think it was like 8, like right at 8, like maybe a little over 8 on Chickamauga.
Okay. So. I hate that lake. What about you? I mean, it's a great lake.
Yeah,
it's a tough lake.
It is.
It's a tough
We
lake.
enjoy Chickamauga.
Oh, yeah. What about you? Biggest spot on Lake Lanier?
The biggest spot is like 6 something. I can't remember the exact decimal. And then otherwise, I think it was also on Lanier. It was another largemouth. It was 8 something.
Okay. All right. How about now? Is that just fun fishing or in tournaments?
Fun fishing.
All right. What about what's your biggest fish you ever caught in a tournament?
I think it was the one I caught at Chickamauga. Probably it was like 7 something.
Okay. All right.
I caught a 7-pounder on Lanier my sophomore year of high school.
Okay. Well, there you go. Is it likely we see Dylan and Chase face off in this college bracket?
We hope so. We hope we're 1 and 2 going on the final day.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So there is a chance.
That's a win-win situation right
there.
there.
That is a win-win situation. I like that. Are y'all eligible to fish Logan Park's Insane tournament?
Yeah, so actually he opened it up for all people that graduated this year. So because he's trying to fill these spots to really give these college kids.
Is this the one in Alabama?
Yeah, so you get a high school kid who gets drafted by college anglers. So I think he saw the opportunity. He wanted to give as many high school anglers the opportunity to fish with college kids, and he was trying to get filled up.
Yeah.
So he opened it up to people who graduated this year, and I think it's going to be a really good opportunity to teach some high school kids and be an inspiration to them. So it's really cool. And if there's any college anglers watching, y'all go sign up. I think he still has a couple more spots left. He's giving away a nitro boat too. So.
Oh, really?
$100,000 boat.
There you
and
go.
it's a random drawing out of 300 people. So
that is awesome. All right, Brian Hinkle, sounds good. Hit me up. Hey, buddy, don't invite me on a date. I will show up right there. So I appreciate that. So Pontoon Jody Catfishing wants to know about Douglas Lake. Y'all ever fished Douglas?
That was one of the lakes and the trails that I was missing.
Was that wasn't in the one you guys fished?
No, we didn't
that
fish Douglas. I don't think we fished Douglas yet. We fished a lake similar in Cherokee. I think is it Cherokee Lake?
So when they picked those lakes, so did one division have a lake that kind of was represented by a similar lake on the other side? Did they kind of keep it fair that way, or was it more regional?
I think they try to do like somewhat regional. Because let's see, they had one on like South Carolina for Murray, and then they had a Georgia one / South Carolina for Clarks Hill, and then they had one over in Texas for all those guys, and then one up north for Saginaw Bay. And I guess Tennessee. I mean, it was pretty regional. I mean, obviously we're not sending stuff to California, but it was pretty spread out.
It was regional, but then also I think one tournament was regional because they had a Texas lake. It was like the end of the year. It was a Texas lake, and then they had a North Lake, which was Saginaw, which was in Michigan. And then the other two, so one of them was Murray, which is a South Carolina lake, and then Clarks Hill, which is also pretty much a South Carolina lake. So those two lakes are similar. And then also Douglas Lake is not really. I wouldn't say it's really similar to Kentucky Lake, but they're both Tennessee lakes. Kinda.
Tennessee Lake, so they got you in the same area. Best fishing partner you've ever had? You better say your sister. You better say your sister. I'm telling you, it's going to make Thanksgiving really interesting if you don't say your sister. Now, you got to be smart with that. Seriously, who's the best fishing partner? Take him away.
Oh,
yeah. Y'all take each other away. Who's the best fishing partner you ever had?
Probably the guy behind me or my grandpa. That's a tough.
So your dad, okay.
Tough call.
Fair and smart. Smart answer.
Smart answer. Well, so the guy that actually asked that question was my partner.
Is that what? Listen, that is a loaded question.
So, yeah. I'm just gonna say we're just gonna say my dad too. We'll make it so that way I don't have to choose one of my.
Yeah, come on now, partners. Y'all ain't being fun.
They ain't being fun. I know we got to have some drama on here right there. But Derek White, on those back to those big fish, did y'all catch them with or without forward-facing sonar?
I think I might have caught. I've caught one spot with it that was 6 pounds something, and then one without it. But the largemouth was without it.
Without it. How about you?
I caught. I've caught I think the 5-pounder. Actually, I remember now. One of them was like a 5 3/4. I actually did catch in a tournament on Lanier, a spotted bass.
Yeah.
We caught it on top water looking at it.
Okay. All right, there you go. So Pontoon Jody says, I love Chickamauga Lake, which does not surprise me. You should. I'm doing a catfish tournament there Saturday night. I got to fish. Ryan and us had a tournament. I believe it was East Hall. We were all fishing together in East Hall. We went up there and stayed a few days and then fished the tournament and all that. If you don't fish that lake a lot, though, it can be pretty intimidating and tough. So, it's like ledge fishing, and I guess that's what you'll call it, that deep river channel stuff. So how much time have you spent on Chickamauga?
I've actually spent a lot of time there. I think my junior and senior year of high school, maybe even sophomore year, we got to go up there for our state tournament every year.
Yeah.
So we got to go up there, and it was pretty much, I'd say it's kind of still in its heyday, but back then, if you went in May or June, it was just on fire, ledge fishing, grass fishing. I mean, you could do anything, and you just caught big ones. So I think that helped.
I caught a couple of 5-pounders, but that wasn't what I would consider. I heard that lake's got giants in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I said I didn't find them. What about you? You like Chickamauga?
Oh, yeah, I love Chickamauga. We went up there.
Say that again. Am I even pronouncing it right? How'd you say it?
Chickamauga.
Chickamauga?
Chickamauga.
Right, whatever. The
chick.
The
yeah.
chick.
So we went up there our freshman year, and we had a pretty good tournament throwing a rattle trap on little secondary little points. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
We caught a big smallmouth. You caught a big smallmouth. It was like a 5-pound smallmouth. We caught some
really?
4-pound largemouth. It was really fun. And once again, it was freshman year. We did well. It was our first tournament. We finished in the top. We finished top 5. So it was really cool to
Don't be flexing.
It's just cool.
So Dylan made me sweat Saturday on Hartwell. So I didn't realize until before the show that Dylan and his father fished the Chestatee Bassmaster. So Ryan got lucky and got him a big one, but you almost had it. You were right there behind them. My cousin also fishes that. Jason Glaze, he's one of the anglers in that thing right there. So how was Hartwell fishing this past Saturday?
It was really tough, actually.
Yeah.
It was kind of you have your flurries, but if you don't capitalize on them, and then it's kind of just over. But I think Ryan was fishing up in the dirt.
No doubt. That's the only place he fishes.
Yeah. So
he got that forward-facing sonar, and he's in 3 foot of water. He's probably throwing a buzz bait, probably throwing a double prop buzz bait or his horny toad.
Oh, I'm sure.
If I was a guessing man, if there was a camera on the boat, I guarantee you at some point he threw one of those 2 things.
Yep.
So, and Ryan, while we're at it, what did that big fish come off of, big dog? So you ain't got to go back there anytime. Robert Burleski says, what's going on, Rob? He's an MPFL angler. Future hammers keep grinding. So that's pretty cool. Rob's actually doing very well. He's cutting him some checks. I've been noticing that. That's what she came on, the horny toad or the double-bladed buzz bait. Harold Grizzle says, good afternoon, guys. And he said it fished miserable. So that's the thing I've heard about Hartwell a lot. When it's on, it's as good as anywhere it is. And then when it's off, it's like an ex-wife or something. It just don't have nothing to do with you right there. So buzz bait. I knew Ryan let me tell you why that I knew you caught it on a buzz bait, because James Collins turned right around and ordered some from me. So, and he fished with you Saturday. And I told these guys, remember me telling you that before the show?
Yep.
That I guarantee you, I was telling you, wasn't it? Was it you I was telling? Yeah. So there you go. They had a good day Saturday. It sucked everywhere. So, hey, that's fishing right there. You two guys, let's ask this. Which one of you guys considers himself the power fisherman of the two? Or are you both just now finesse? I mean,
I think that me and Dylan have a pretty good balance. I think Dylan is definitely probably a better power
the
fisherman
power
than I
fisherman
am.
out there, yeah.
But I still think that we both are pretty balanced in our fishing. Like we can both do if whatever we're doing, we can both do it.
Yeah. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think like one of the big things like we did this year was you go to a lot of places where you'd have like one person can do like some forward facing sonar stuff while the other person power fishes behind you. And then that can like create a lot of like key fish catches that like everybody misses because one person just is going to be stubborn and be like, if I'm not looking at the live scope, I'm not fishing, kind of thing.
Right.
So I think that is like a big thing that we do well together. We can either live scope together at the same time, or we can one of us do it and then the other one just focus on the bank and pick it apart.
It's like weird because like at Murray we had a thing where he was on the trolling motor and I saw a fish sitting on a stump. And it was actually like he didn't see it. He thought that the fish was he thought it was a stump, part of the stump.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I think that's a fish. So I just threw at it. He was still going on the trolling motor. And I ended up, it was like a 6.5 pounder. But then also we go to a different lake, Kentucky Lake. Well, that's when I was watching the live with him. But then at Kentucky Lake, we're having a tough day. Like he's throwing it fish on live and I'm just like throwing my Demiki random, like just throwing it out there in the random and just working it like I would. And I ended up catching like 2 or 3 of our fish we weighed in, and they were like key fish in the winning team of the year. So
there you go. Rob, I love some Hartwell. He does. Now he likes like Hartwell. And I know a lot of guys like Hartwell. And it's a hell of a lake, but when it's off, it is off. Yeah. Now, how about this? So you guys fish together. Let's do it this. Let's break you guys down a little bit. Of all the ways to fish, which one do you hate the worst? What is the worst technique? You don't want to ever do it. If we see it on your rod, something's wrong in the world.
You answer. I need a minute.
You need a minute to think?
I need to think of that one.
What do you hate the worst?
Probably like punching. I haven't done it a ton, but God, it can be. You can go 400 yards and not catch a fish, and then you go in a 5-yard section and there's just 20 pounds.
See, I'm gonna be on Gunnersville in a couple of weeks with some of the guys on the Thursday night show and all that, and I asked them, "What are we gonna do?" And they're gonna take. I've never punched before, and then we're gonna go punching. And I'm like, do I really want to do that? Because I've heard stuff exactly like what you're saying, and it can just be miserable to just punch for nothing. But when you hook one, changes your attitude completely. So I get that. So punching for you. What about for you?
I would say the same. I mean, I really don't hate any kind of fishing as long as I'm catching fish.
But, I understand.
But I guess.
How about this? What is something you suck at?
Punching. We have never. We tried punching so many times in our college, and we just I don't know if we just didn't have the patience for it. I don't know we just never figured it out. We just never. Okay.
All right. Yeah. It's boring until it's exhilarating.
That's right.
That's called marriage, Ryan. Yeah. That's the way it is. So that is marriage. And that's some, adult advice for you guys. Y'all ain't engaged or nothing like that, are you? Got a girl?
He ought to be engaged.
He ought to be engaged. You got that? All right. We'll stop with that. I won't get on to that. She might be watching. I don't want you to get in trouble. All right. What is your best technique? Either one of you can answer. What's the thing you love doing the most?
I would say probably throwing a fluke over brush piles over top water. That's probably the most fun and that's one of my stronger suits, I feel like.
Okay. What about you?
Probably herring style type stuff.
Yeah.
Throwing some bills and things like that.
Yeah.
Just any herring
we've done it
lake.
our whole life.
Yeah. Well, I say, you grew up on a herring lake. Yeah. Of all the lakes that you fished, whether it be in high school or college, as far as competition, which lake do you hate the most? You got to think about that one.
Yeah.
Because I know some lakes, they lend to your strengths. And some lakes are just oh, man, we got to figure it out.
Oh, I got it.
You got it? Yeah, I got it. I want to see if y'all agree.
It's rivers. We went to James River and Winyah Bay. I did not like either of those. Something with the current and stuff like that. I wasn't a fan of it. Yeah.
Wasn't a fan of it? Okay.
It's a close call between those ones, which those ones are kind of fun to me because you hit 30-minute window where you can catch anything. Mm-hmm. But then the one that I really don't like and they took us there 8 times was Harris Chain.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that one. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you guys say that.
Yeah.
I forget who I was talking to, but it was a pro. No, it was Robert Gee last week. Robert G, or however you want to say it. We had him on, and I asked him which lake he wished they would take off the elite schedule, and he said Harris Chain.
Yeah.
So what is it about Harris Chain that is just so awful to us northern guys? We'll call us all Yankees because we're not from Florida.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things they do really bad. First of all, they just destroy the grass, just spraying it, everything. And then like when they do that, that causes it to be where there's like hot zones for like certain people, or like certain groups of fish, they all group up together, and it makes it to where everybody's just like fishing in like a circle. And I'm just like, man, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to go fishing that.
There was like 25 boats on like one spot.
Like one shell bed, and just everybody's grouped around it. And I'm like, I'm just tired of it. And then especially when you just keep going to the same place over and over, it's just like our 4th year of college, everybody already knows where the fish are going to like reside at on this place, because there's not that many places. They don't just, the whole place is lined with grass. They don't, like, the time of year it was also the same time of year they kept taking us there. So it was always January or February. So it was like the same thing like 8 times. And then it just kind of gets old, it's not, it can be a good fishery for some people, but if you don't want to go like sit in the group with everybody else and you sit there for literally 8 hours a day to get your 5 bites, because those largemouth in Florida just move so slow.
Yeah.
It's not fun for me, because I'm used to running around and herring fishing. But
I got you.
So we never qualified for nationals. All like 6 times we went to Harris Chain, freshman through junior year. And then finally senior year, we went down there like, we're tired of this place. And the last day of practice, I actually tied on a spinnerbait my grandma got me for Christmas. She calls it the 38 Special. It's a War Eagle spinnerbait. And I just started.
It's a War Eagle?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we tied it on, like, man, I'm just going to try this. We've already tried everything else. And we just started tearing them up in practice. And then we actually, on tournament day, got into the very last spot to qualify for MLF Nationals, which we got to fish next April.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
It was the way we were able to, because I think that was the last nationals we hadn't qualified for yet.
Yep.
So you qualified for them all?
Yeah, we qualified for 4 MLF Nationals and 4 BASS Nationals.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys might know what you're doing.
Team consistent is
team consistent. All right. So, well, I mean, Ryan says teamwork makes dream work. So, that's it.
Yep.
Karsten Miller. So you got you another fanboy right there. That boy Chase Cold.
Yeah.
I guess he left out. He left out some. I guess so. That's how you guys say it. That boy Chase Cold.
Yeah.
So that sounds really strange coming out of a 52-year-old white guy's mouth. But Logan Fisher. Me and Will finna win. Listen to the way these guys are typing these comments. Me and Will finna win the nighter. That's from Logan Fisher. Me and Will finna win the nighter. Finna. All right.
They probably finna win the Hartwell night tournament's on Tuesday nights, and they usually weigh in about 10 o'clock. So they must have a bag.
So he's on the water now. Well, there you go, Logan. Actually,
he's on YouTube, so he must really have a bag.
He's going in there confident. All right, Logan. Right now, go ahead and tell us what you're bringing to the scales right now. We want to know. We want to know. Price Jenkinson, appreciate you joining us tonight. What is the furthest lake y'all have fished at? And let's just say in competition and just in general and fun. What's the furthest you've been?
The furthest and the roughest is Saginaw Bay.
St. Lawrence too.
St. Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, St. Lawrence was, I think, 16 hours.
Yeah.
But
I was going to ask you about Saginaw, because that's where the MPFL, I think, was just this past weekend. And, Will Harkins, bless his heart, I love him. He's from up what's that town that I said we got to call the mayor on? Blake, you remember?
What?
It's right there. What's the town above LJ? Blue Ridge, and then it's the next town.
Dahlonega.
No, not Dahlonega. That's on this side of the state.
You said
Blairsville.
Blairsville.
That's how he says. Blair. I'm Will Harkins from Blairsville. I don't know where the hell I was going with that. But they were up there at Saginaw. That's what he got seasick. And then I thought the Johnston brother got seasick in their last event. Did you actually get out on the rough water?
Oh, we got a story.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, like, the first day of that competition, they didn't even let us out of the Saginaw River. So we didn't even practice in the river. But we were like, man, we're competing for the AOY. We got to make something happen. So we just pulled out the chatterbait and just let it rip. And we actually wound up, I think we were sitting in like 12th.
We found a pretty decent grass patch. So
yeah.
Okay. This is on Saginaw?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
In the river.
In the river.
Yeah. So we had like 250 or like almost 200 boats in like a little river. Yeah. Where like people are fishing side by side.
Nobody wanted to go out on the big water.
Yeah.
Oh, they wouldn't let you. So
that day
you could.
It was a small craft advisory, so they wouldn't let us. And then the second day they let us, and we're like, we either got to go or we're going to get beat. Because at that point we were trying to compete for just the individual trail AOY.
Yeah. So
we were like, man, we had like 20 plus pounds of smallmouth on beds and just roaming out there I think it's like 30 miles to the spot we were going to. So man, we got to send it. And I think it took us like right at 2 hours to get there.
Good Lord.
And then we wound up getting there and we couldn't even fish because we would like, if we were both standing on the front, the troll motor would dip in and hit the waves and it was just flooding the deck. Our turtle box was floating, the floggers like halfway head down.
Y'all had the floggers?
Oh yeah, we had the flogger.
Listen, I want to try the flogger thing.
I think we speared like 10 waves. We were soaking wet. Like our rain suits couldn't even. Like,
that's crazy.
It was like taking on like a fire hydrant just straight to the face every time you speared one. It was crazy.
It was.
Did it spook you a little bit?
Oh, it spooked a lot of people. We actually saw so we got out there, we saw like 6 boats, and then we wound up having people they were like, yeah, we're going to the ramp. Like they were just giving up and having somebody bring their trailer out there to the mouth of the bay, and they were just like done. We're like, we sat in a canal and contemplated it for about 30 minutes. Then we're like, you know what? We're just gonna go across. So the bay's like a bowl, and it was blowing east, so it was blowing straight into where we're fishing. And we're like, well, man, if we can just cross over to the other side, it's a little bit short of a route, and then we can just run down the grass line to get back to the ramp. So we ultimately decided that's what we're gonna do.
Well, we decided that because we had caught we caught a 5-pound smallmouth off bed while we were out there, and then we also went into the canal and caught 4.
This is on the other side? You caught the 5-pounder on the other side earlier?
Yeah, we caught the 5-pound smallmouth out when we had got to our spot 2 hours away.
Okay,
so out there in the deep stuff.
So you decided to send it, thinking it would be better.
Yeah, so we were like, oh, we'll send it across the bay to the west side.
Yeah,
and we kind of thought it out, but in the end it worked out. But when we got halfway across, so the bay's shallow and then it drops to it's 15, and then when you get 10 miles to the middle, it goes to 40 or 50.
Right.
So we're cruising whatever. I mean, we're probably going 12 miles an hour.
Bouncing a little bit.
And then all of a sudden we get to where it drops off 40 and it started sure enough swelling. And then we both looked at each other and we're like, he's like, you want to turn around? I'm like, no, because it's going to be worse going that way. So we just kept on going, and then we eventually got there. But those were probably some of the biggest waves I've seen at a bass boat.
Oh yeah, I mean, you watch any of those pro tournaments that's on that, and they got a camera boat that's just sitting off the thing. You see the guy fishing, and then you see him kind of disappear. I don't think anybody appreciates just how rough it gets out there.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's nasty stuff.
So we were talking about it afterwards. We were like, if we were I have a 21-foot boat.
Yeah.
If we were in a 20-foot boat, we probably would have we would have definitely been spearing a lot more waves than what we were. Because I mean, it was a foot was that big of a difference out there. It was crazy, how close those waves were going into them. Now when you're going with them, the way the boat's going, it kind of the wave kind of pushes you into that next wave, and that's how you spear a lot more. That's why we speared so many going out there. But when we come back, we didn't, because of
the way it was.
The way you could kind of get your bow up and just kind of
stay on that wave,
stay on top of it a little bit.
What's up, Michael Temples? Appreciate you joining us tonight. Listen, I got to fish up in Lake Michigan. It was last September. We were up there, and we were just trolling on a big boat. I mean, one of them $200,000 ones. Those guys get out there. They take 10 people out. So we were doing that, and it was calm. And then all of a sudden, it got windy, and it was amazing just how fast that lake went from just glass to what's that daggone movie about The Perfect Storm or something like that? Those way. I mean, I threw up. I got sick. I'm not gonna lie. Now we'd had a lot of fun in Glen Arbor before we got on the lake, but if you could pick one lake to add to y'all's schedule that y'all don't get to fish, and Lanier, you can't be Lanier. Can't be Lanier. What would it be? Or one lake you want to fish that you haven't gotten to fish yet?
Probably Lake Fork.
Yeah,
I've never been to Texas.
Everybody says
I was about to say a Texas lake,
Texas
Lake Fork, yeah.
Get out there in big largemouth and all that. Are you guys into the big swim bait game or anything like that?
Not really.
Occasionally, not much.
Yeah. What would you throw at Lake Fork?
Well, based off the recent footage, I'd probably throw a Demiki at all those trees. But
see, that's interesting because you're throwing a Demiki. You're going out to Texas where everything's big. Everything's bigger in Texas. You're gonna throw a Demiki. Now, is that because of forward-facing sonar? You think that's why guys are using that out there? And it's effective because they're catching fish on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we were using it vertically before forward-facing sonar.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we kind of knew about it, but I think it brought a whole new aspect to it when you can throw it in front of you and see what it's doing versus straight down.
Gotcha. All right, listen. A lot of our viewers, of course, they're Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier is the engine that runs the car around here. What are some things you see guys doing on Lake Lanier that just kind of blow your mind, not in a good way. You're like, man, you're never going to catch fish. There's some mistakes anglers are making out there on Lake Lanier, or things you hear about that you're like, that's never going to work. Because our goal with this show in reality is, of course, introducing everybody to guys like you, but also to help people around here catch more fish. So let's start off with what people around here are doing wrong.
I mean, there's not really much you can do wrong on Lanier besides maybe just throwing like the wrong baits at the wrong time of year. But the thing about Lanier is you can go out any time of year and throw a shaky head or a drop shot and catch fish.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily wrong when it comes to like fun fishing, but if I'm like tournament fishing, I'm in a whole different mode. I'm trying to catch the big fish, not like smaller fish.
Right. Because I'm the king of the 2-pound Lake Lanier bass, and I catch them on shaky head. So I understand what you're saying. And a lot of our fellow guys doing the drop shot, they never can get on the big fish. So how about this? If I want to consistently catch big spotted bass on Lake Lanier, give me a couple baits. Big spotted bass, big ones.
Depends on time of the year, but I think right now, I would say fluke and topwater. And then I know there's like some other little like timber stuff people do, but Dylan can probably speak a little bit more on that.
Your basic herring stuff, fluke, topwater,
just
Seville.
It's not going to catch you as many fish, right? Like the topwater and the fluke, like your bites are going to go down a little bit compared to a drop shot, but that's how you're able to get your 3 and 4 pounders. It's catching, because that's what they're eating. They're eating big herring, and they're going to want that.
Right. How about going into the wintertime? Let's say we finally get some good cold fronts, water temperatures dropping, lake's already turned over. What are some things that, in your mind already, that you're going to be doing, say December, late November, December?
I think like everybody knows, your shaky head, jig, spoon, Nico.
Going deep.
Yeah, going deep. Well, you can go shallow too, crankbaits. I mean, we don't.
You got that rock crawler bite.
Yeah, everybody, even the best of the best on Lanier, no matter how much like forward facing sonar stuff comes out or whatever, they're still throwing their crankbaits. They're still catching key fish on those, whether people believe them or not. They're still weighing in fish on these crankbaits.
Now, did y'all notice last winter, and this is something we kind of noticed, a lot of the tournaments, everybody talks ditch fishing on Lake Lanier, but a lot of the tournaments were actually won beating the banks in 10 foot or less. All winter last year, we saw that happening. Mm-hmm. You guys experienced the same thing?
Yeah.
It just wasn't the norm, it seemed like.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the big fish are kind of living up shallow, and like big solo fish, a lot of spotted bass. Like I feel like the bigger fish like to hang out solo. And I think you got the forward-facing sonar definitely helps with that.
With that, yeah.
Other than in the morning time, and that's when you can probably catch them on crankbait a little bit better. But
So you got a favorite crankbait?
It kind of depends for like situation.
Okay, let's just say going into late fall, early winter on Lake Lanier, or Allatoona, or any lake with a lot of rock. It's got spotted bass. Rock crawler.
Yeah, rock crawler.
All right, what's your favorite color? Favorite color you can tell me about that won't cost you money in a tournament down the road. Something for our guys to pick up.
What's the plain red one?
The plain red one?
I don't honestly, I'm really bad with names, so I just know it's like
we just go with the reds. You go with the reds.
Yeah,
and oranges.
Your basic.
You can't go wrong with that.
Your basic, yeah.
Yeah. So Mitchell Dean, I appreciate you joining us tonight. Can't wait to see these guys on the NPFL. They hate that scoping BS. So, well, I mean, do you hate it? And is he talking about you guys?
I think he's
general.
making a joke, but yeah. I mean, I think if we had to, we could compete without it, right? So I mean,
yeah.
Well, you gotta have confidence and all that.
I think everybody wants to see these people that have been talking on the internet back up their game, because I know for a fact that some of these people that like you think are all these scopers, I think a bunch of them are going to fish the NPFL for at least a year to prove themselves to all these people that get that like stereotype of that they can't fish without it out of these people.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, because that's the way 30 and under, you guys have got that label regardless of whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's social media, and that's just the way it is. It's interesting. Do you think that a lot of the older anglers from the other leagues might drop down in the NPFL now? And I don't mean drop down, move over. You think you'll see that?
I think some will, but I don't know how many. I'm be very curious to see, because I think there's a lot of people that might actually do both. There's a lot that do both now. Like some of your ones that are really good, like Welcher and John Cox.
And Patrick Walters and those guys.
Yeah. So I'll be curious about what some of them do.
Cook,
Because especially like if they're having tournaments like just bam, bam, I mean, you got to take all that equipment back off, because like they're not going to go fish the Elite Series without it, unless you're John Cox, of course. That's
right.
him.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to see if you can put all that stuff back on and take it back off, So I think it's going to be interesting.
I wonder if they'll do something kind of like what Allen did with the TAA and come up with a lock. So basically, all you had to do was unscrew your graphs were on there, but you unscrewed and locked your transducer in a little device that couldn't be undone until after the tournament. It was very easy to tell if you tried to.
Smart idea.
Well, that's what he did with the TAA.
Yeah.
And he's actually, I talked to Alan the other day, for those of you that are interested that follow the TAA, there is going to be more TAAs coming. It is still going to happen. And when it happens, he's going to bring it back big time. But the difference in a TAA tournament as opposed to the MPFL, and I don't know all the financial stuff for the MPFL, but I know that Allen's tournaments are 100% payback. So there is no organization that takes a percentage out. Yeah. And that's what he uses, because it is a pain in the butt when you got all this equipment and you got to take it on, take it off, take it on, take it off. If you had, let's see, all of those big pros had their chance to fish a tournament without forward-facing sonar, and a bunch didn't show up. And that is true. That's a TAA I was talking about. But let me ask you this. If, let's say all three, and there may be more, but I consider all three your top level. So you got the MPFL, you got Bass, and MLF. You got your choice. And I know Bass is the king. But let's just say they were all equal. And one of them had no forward-facing sonar, one of them had a mix, and one of them, whatever you brought, you could fish with. Which would you guys fish? Right now, you got your choice. You got the money behind you. It doesn't matter. Would you enjoy one over the other?
What was the neutral one?
So you had no forward-facing sonar, which is MPFL right now, and you got one that has, say, limits or mix, or maybe like half the trail is without, half the trail is with, and then you got one that is bring what you got. What would you like to fish?
I think I'd probably do the one. That's hard to say because you don't know what the limits are, right? But maybe the limits one. I like the limit one on just like one solo, maybe one or two. One or two forward-facing sonar transducers.
Yeah, like how? I mean, so you'd like the limit. You like the one in the middle, the neutral one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What about you?
I think I'm kind of the same with the neutral because I like giving everyone an equal opportunity, but not blowing it so out of proportion to where you have to have $10,000 in batteries just to run this equipment, which is not feasible at all to most people, So I think I like the kind of limit thing where it's not like I can just go pinpoint a fish bedding in the middle of the lake on the head and just agitate them, But I like it where you have one where you can see some stuff, but not like to the degree where like I think it's mainly like in the springtime. I think it might take an effect on some of these fish. They're like bedding in places where they previously like weren't messed with. Right. I think that might be the biggest effect. Which I mean, not on like spotted bass lakes. Like these spotted bass are mean. They're gonna.
I call them pissed off fish. That's the way they are.
So I think they're gonna be okay. But I think largemouth is gonna. There's gonna be some interesting takes on places with largemouth in it.
Yeah. What about this? What if? Or what would you agree with the tournament trail that says, okay, if they're truly about the fishery, and I hear that a lot with forward-facing sonar, but what if they didn't have any tournaments from March until May? It took bedding season off. What would you think about that?
I think they could do it, but I think they could do something like digital. I really support the digital.
The digital aspect, so you're not putting them in a boat, dragging them around with you all.
So I get like the cheating aspect of it, but I mean, like you'd obviously have to have officials. It'd be a little bit more cost input to like have that, but I think that would be a really
kind of like what Texas does.
What's that?
Kind of like what Texas does when he's talking about weighing the fish and tossing them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think professionals already have pretty much a marshal on their boat at all times.
They do, yeah.
So, I mean, at the same time, I think, like you said, like maybe.
Would you be in support of something
March
like
and
that?
May? Yeah, I think I would definitely be in support of something like that for March and May.
You've seen what it has done to Lake Fork. So, I mean, I don't know who couldn't support that. Who doesn't want to go out there and have a chance to catch their PB? Yeah. I mean, you can't take it home and eat it, but
you would support the digital aspect. So I'm talking about fishing the tournament as a whole. If we're really worried about the resource, which is one of Randy Blockett's big things with forward-facing sonar, and I'm not debating pro against it, but you hear the resource we're damaging in that, and a lot of people feel just as passionately about bed fishing as they do forward-facing sonar. So what would you think if we just said, all right, we're not doing any tournaments in the prime bedding season? maybe early, because it goes for three.
Yeah.
It goes for a long time. You really can't just pinpoint it. But let's just say April on Lake Lanier. What if Lake Lanier was on BAS's schedule and we said we're not going to fish Lake Lanier because it's bed fishing? What do you think about that?
I wouldn't really be like that upset about it, I guess, just as long as I get to fish at a different time of year. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I think another thing is having tournaments in the summer too. Like that's like August. August is like Hartwell. Hartwell has been beat up the past 3 years with national championships where we have 300, 500 like worlds, MLF worlds.
Yes.
And they have, so many fish die.
I wonder how many boats go out of Anderson a year, fishing out of Anderson up there.
Which we love. We love them coming to Lake Hartwell, but I think that time of year, especially August, right? Like June is all right, but when you get into July and August, when it's that hot, those fish just.
Do you guys ever fish any of the Scarp Barnes tournaments on Lanier?
We fished a couple, but I think we've been so busy with college stuff that we'd have our little fall time trails there that we haven't fished many, but I think we're going to try and get in a bunch.
But he don't run a tournament during the summertime.
Oh yeah.
For fish care specifically.
Yeah.
So what if one of these trails actually started in September and went to say March?
I think it would be good for seasonal stuff too.
You couldn't do that in Saginaw, of course, because of the winter.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying.
But I think that would add a little seasonal to it, right? Like have a little fall, because right now we don't really have a bass and MLF. I don't know about MLF, but I know I follow bass a lot. They don't have any fall tournaments,
right?
Elite Series wise, it's all spring, and then when it does get into late summer, they go up north. They go up north to where it's closer to spring, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I definitely think that. In my opinion, elites are not beating up on the bass that much because there's only so many teams. It's mainly local tournaments.
Yeah,
and maybe world national tournaments that are beating up on the bed.
Would be interesting though, just to see if it really how you could tweak a schedule. You could do it. JPJ fishing. What key bait did y'all weigh the most fish on throughout the year? And let's just take this past year. What was the key bait that got you the most bites?
I think that it was. I would say between I can just tell you each tournament. Murray, we caught a lot on shaky head, which we found out that we probably could have been throwing a Demiki too. But we ended up catching them on shaky head. And then using forward facing mainly. And then Kentucky Lake, we threw Demiki a lot. And then Saginaw Bay, we threw a chatterbait in the river. And then when we went out to, and
I hear about that speed worm a lot. A lot of people don't talk about it publicly, but come in the shop, speed worm. I hear that all the time.
And then I think, what did we catch on the second day? We caught one on. I think we had a little Demiki / drop shot.
Ned rig.
Okay, so
anything to catch smallmouth.
Based on y'all's answers right there, Demiki, so finesse fishing, smaller baits. Now, what do you think when people talk about the tackle industry as a whole, in that with forward-facing sonar, it's hurting the industry because a lot of companies that made your traditional baits, your spinner baits, your jigs, those they're suffering a little bit because all the companies are pushing towards that technology right now. As far as the baits you guys use, do you use any old-fashioned baits? You throwing a jig around? You throwing anything like that? I'm just curious.
We pretty much used – we used a bunch of different baits this season.
Yeah?
We still use the old traditional stuff. At some point, I think – so you get all these people going offshore with the forward-facing sonar. Fish respond to pressure. So this might be a crazy take, but I think at some point these fish might start transitioning back to the bank and living up there to get away from pressure at some point.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. You feel that way?
The way I feel about the whole thing is that things are ever changing, right? So you always have to be ready to adjust, whether you're a bait company making baits or whatever. You can't really complain about the circumstances. You just kind of as college anglers, we didn't have a live our freshman year, but we still went out and competed, but we adjusted as well. We were hey, this is putting us at a disadvantage not having one. So we went out and got one and we did it. So I think that for anything in fishing and also, in general, you have to be ever changing and adjust to the circumstances.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. A lot of guys around here don't have it, whether it be for cost, they're against it, they don't believe in it. Guys know now that there is a population of bass offshore on the Lake Lanier. They know they're either on a hump, timber, whatever. All they've got is a regular 2D. So if all you had was a 2D sonar and you're on Lake Lanier, how would that change your fishing from the way it is now with forward-facing sonar?
It wouldn't change our style much because we pretty much did the same thing before it. Like we just used waypoints and our directional like beacon navigation, whatever you want to call it, on our fish finder, and we'd line it up and just make the cast.
So you
Pretty
knew
much.
where the structure, what you casted just towards the
Yeah,
structure.
I mean, we just used whatever we used whatever we're like have the ability to use. So we'd use side scan and down scan, find the stuff, schools of fish and structure we want to throw to, and then we'd line up with our fish finder and throw over it.
I would say we're catching the same fish we were before, just now we're able to like land on top of their
More
heads.
efficient.
Yeah, we're way more efficient.
Okay.
And that goes with shaky head too, because I mean shaky head, you just choose a bank and you'd go down and throw it, right?
Oh yeah.
Now
yeah.
it's when I go down a bank, I'm skinning my live and I'm like, oh, there's a fish. Let me throw on top of them. So like now we're catching the same fish, just now we're more efficient with it, in my opinion.
And no, listen, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's take the timber bite on Lanier. And again, you're back to that guy, just 2D. We're going old school here. Maybe he's just got the old fashioned flasher. Hell, I don't know. All right, but there's fish sitting down there in 40 foot on top of the timber because you've been hearing people talk about it. What baits are you going to go down there and try to catch that fish with? You got no live, you can't see it. What's in your arsenal? Because a lot of guys here don't have it, so maybe we can help these guys out. What are you going to target them with?
I would say still like a Demiki, just using 2D, right? I mean, are you
Now,
talking about? Are you talking about any electronics or
all you got
or
is 2D?
Okay, yeah, I would say
All you
you
got
can
is
just
2D.
go over with a 2D. I mean,
Now you're going to be more vertical. You're going to be casting.
you'd be straight up.
Yeah, so you're going back to the vertical
Yeah.
fishing, whereas now we can cast towards it.
That's right.
Yeah. So when you get like that deep, unless you like have graphed the fish and know specifically where they're at, like on your structure scan or your down scan, it's very hard to like line up and work a cast in 40 foot. Like we used to do it, but we'd obviously know where those fish were, find them in practice. And the tournament day, we're line up our casts because it's a really slow kind of thing in the winter.
Yeah.
But like if I were to just be like trolling around on 2D, just fun fishing, looking for them, I would definitely have like Demiki, drop shot, or spoon.
Yeah, it's kind of like, ditch fishing on Lanier. Just when it's like you're 40, 45 foot, we'd figure out where are they sitting exactly on the ditch, line at ledge, and you throw your fish head over there, right? So
now you mentioned spoon. Are we talking the vertical spoon or like a flutter spoon?
Summertime I do like a little bit of flutter spoon, and then wintertime's like a jigging spoon.
Okay, I got you. What about you?
Same
thing?
Yeah.
All right. When do you expect the fall turnover to happen? You guys been on Lanier a while. Normally, when does that happen?
Like end of October.
End of October. All right, so we got that coming up. That makes fishing very tough. So now you're on Lanier, and you have your forward, you know, whatever you want. But now you're on Lanier, the lake's turning over. What are some ways that guys around here can catch fish during the turnover?
Well, you can like drive around the lake and like just like look at the water in your graph and stuff and see like water clarity and stuff and see where it's like, because it rarely ever happens to the completely entire lake at the same level at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to have a section in one creek be bad and then another creek not be quite as bad. Sometimes they can all be bad, I guess.
Yeah.
But most time we'll like run around and test different areas and try to figure out which one's the best.
Okay. Yeah. So that's like, because it's not uniform across the entire lake.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think the water is like going out of the dam and stuff in different areas. So it's not all just going to happen at once.
Now, Lake Lanier right now, north, mid-lake, south. What's your favorite?
South.
I knew you two were going to say south. Yeah. You ever venture up north?
Yeah, that trail I fished, the Chesapeake Bassmasters, they limit us.
Because he does.
And then actually,
that's right.
One of the only like tournaments I won in high school, I won it fishing up north in September, throwing a horny toad.
Throwing the old horny toad. Yeah. All right, what color?
Black or white.
Black. Okay, because Ryan's a white. He throws white, and then he throws white, and then he throws white. Rob Jordan, Rob Jordan was on here, and he was talking about throwing a frog on Lake Lanier, which a lot of people don't do. But I asked him what color. He goes, I throw black, and if that don't work, I throw black, and if that don't work, I throw black. You know, so it's your two colors right there. So I'm just saying it works. So Michael Temple's in the comment section said the monthly box was great again. Hey, listen, appreciate that. For those of you that don't know, you can support the channel. We got a couple of different levels of support, but one of them is for $49.99. We do a monthly box that you get $40 retail baits in that we send out every month. And I've got Jonathan Farmer, which if you know the show, you've been following us for a while, he knows these lakes and he's picking them out, the baits that work for the following month. So the box that we sent out this month has baits in. I think it had a sashimi. That's back on that herring bite you're talking about. Some other things, and that was for September. And so as we get towards October and that the bait box comes out, those baits are going to be geared towards October and so on and so forth. And it's kind of a way, we started this with Ryan back in the day to kind of help you build up your tackle box and give you the baits that you can use for that upcoming year. So you can check that out on the page, how to subscribe and all. But Michael, I appreciate that. Drew Patterson, he says, howdy. We had that talk about jigs earlier about Alatuna and all that. And I was telling you the black and blue and how those guys were catching bass on the jigs. And then we kind of just wet the bed and didn't do it. He's one of them right there. So it's his fault. Okay, so for those that don't know, that are watching, break down a little bit the differences between the north part of Lanier, mid-lake, and south. How you would approach each one of them right now. I'll give you the south. You do the south.
Ooh, I think I'd be better at the south.
Okay, well, then you do the south.
I mean, there's a bunch of different creeks in the south, right? You got your Big Creek, you got Bald Ridge, you got Shoal Creek, and Flower Branch Creek, on and on and on. But I mean, I would just, this time of year, I would find your points that are running out, 20, 30 foot, maybe even humps, and just go out there and just figure out what topwater they want to eat that day. And you can also throw a fluke too. Fluke is probably going to be your most consistent bait.
Yeah.
But you can go out there and throw any walking bait. There's a couple.
A lot of guys dip their tails on the flukes these days. Do you do that, or do you just choose the color?
We mainly choose the color, but I mean,
okay, cloudy day. Early morning, low light, cloudy days. What color?
Morning, low light.
Give me some juice.
Probably pearl. I mean, just straight pearl.
Just straight pearl.
Good.
All right. Yeah.
Pearl's
Okay.
good.
He's got a fluke in his hand right there. Hold that thing up. Can you put that camera on that? Yeah, there you go. So he brought him a fluke because that was instrumental in y'all's win. You were telling me about that, and I'll let you talk about that in a second. All right. High sun, bluebird skies, middle of the day.
Like your disco violets, your disco greens are pretty good.
I love disco green.
Yeah. So those are pretty good. What's the other one? The glimmer blue, I think.
Glimmer blue is a good one.
That's a good one. Translucent type.
Right. Just got the glitter. All right. Now I'm gonna give you the hard one. North end.
So it depends like how far north you go.
As far as you want to go.
Obviously, the further up the river you go, it's going to be more buzzbait, frogging, flipping jigs under docks, flipping cypress trees, things like that. But there's still like a section below that where it fishes very similar to the south end. Like you can use the same baits. Obviously, like I think there's probably a lot more smaller bait up there, not as much herring.
I agree with that.
So I think it can be a little bit different, but at the same time, you can still catch fish on most of the same baits as you go up to a certain extent. But once you get past a certain extent, it obviously turns into a river.
Yeah.
Then you need to change what you're doing.
Okay, both of you, mid-lake.
Mid-lake,
a little bit of both, a little bit of everything.
A little bit of both. I mean, if you go up in a creek, right? I mean, you can even do it on the south end. If you go up in, the back of a creek, you can still throw a frog or something back there and catch them. But I mean, like I said, points that run out, brush piles. I mean, mainly it's brush piles, finding the good brush piles.
Right. I know the guys that win a lot of tournaments, they go south. But it also intimidates a lot of people because it is much bigger down there, the big water. Mm-hmm. I think it does intimidate them a little bit. JPJ Fishing, what's y'all's go-to Demiki rig setup? Line, weight, hook, plastic? So give me the rod, give me everything, your Demiki setup. What are we throwing it on?
I like this. We have a St. Croix, probably like a medium light. It's got a good little tip on it, but I think we throw a dirty jigs, tackle, like what do we usually throw? Like
the guppy head.
Guppy head. I think like a 1/4 ounce weight. So I think it's only like a 1/0 hook.
Mm-hmm. Very small.
Very small. And then we put a little Z2 on it, a little plastic. They're elastic, so they don't really tear off, and they last forever. And so we kind of match it. Like we usually get like the unpainted head, and then we get what is that color called that we use? It's like
and what's that color called? What's that color called?
It's just like a typical shad color, like
shad color.
Like
there's so many different colors, and I've gone out some days and tested all kinds of different colors, and I mean, sometimes it makes a difference depending if it's cloudy or sunny, but most of the time, I mean,
it's your basic colors.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just covering water. I mean, these fish see so many lures. Sometimes it's just how you time them up.
All right. So
when you hit them,
you throw that on spinning gear.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really know anybody. I don't think anybody.
I know. You'd be surprised, dude. I see them coming in here with guys with bait casters on a spinning rod, and they're like, "I'm like, I don't know if that's the best way, buddy."
We throw it on an 8-pound Seagar.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then what braid do you guys use? Red Label. All right, but what braid do you guys? I mean, not braid. What knot do you use to tie your fluoro to your braid?
I don't even know the name.
I'm
of
an
it.
Alberto guy. I like the
Mine is,
Alberto.
I think mine is. I think it's Alberto. Yeah.
Because I can't tie that FG knot. My fingers are too fat, and I ain't got the patience for it. You know the Alberto, you go through 7 times up,
Yep.
7 times back, bring it
Yeah,
back through, spit on it.
That's what I
6.
tie. I
That's
think
what
you
you
just
tie.
you tie two what's it called? What do you?
Palmars.
Yeah, you tie 2
Yeah, I think
Palmars
it's
and stitch them
Palmar.
together. Okay.
4-wrap uni. Mickey
Yeah.
Bruce
I
knot.
don't get into the names. Of
You don't
things.
get
we
names.
don't
I
get into
got
names
that.
of
Hey, listen,
colors.
I
We
get,
just
you know what? It's like, yeah,
What we
I
see-
tie a knot, it works.
yeah.
But, guys want to know that information.
right.
There you go. So, Drew Patterson, do the go-to colors change as you go up the rivers? So, like, say from the south end, you got, your colors that work. How about the flukes? Okay, we talked about, your disco greens and violets on a sunny day. You're on the south end throwing that. Now, let's say you're going up as you go up the lake. Do those colors come into play, or are you changing a little bit because the water's a little more stained?
We might throw like a chartreuse fluke or something.
Yeah.
Dylan can speak on a little bit more.
Yeah,
I mean, fluke's a little bit different. I think as you go up the river, like the color of the fluke kind of stays similar for me
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. Like if you're going to be fishing a fluke, most of the time you're going to be fishing it offshore. Even when you go up to the lake, you're going to be fishing points and stuff. I guess you can throw it shallow in dirtier water, but even in dirty water, they're still going to see the pearl.
Yeah.
But I think maybe as far as frogs and things go, I know some people sometimes transition from in that clear water. I'm going to throw they actually make translucent frogs and translucent colored horny toads. So I know some people, they'll transition from that to darker colors depending on water clarity.
Yeah. Now this goes into the next question from Zach Lamb, and I appreciate you joining us tonight. You got a fluke there, and you got a couple of different hooks right there. So I'm assuming you Texas rig one, and then you nose hook one.
Yeah. So there's 2 basic ways I really rig a fluke. The first way is just your common basic way. You got your worm hook, and you can you want to make sure this thing is straight. So you just hook it through the head, and you can either go this way, and then you come out through the top of the back, which this can be this is kind of a universal thing.
That's the standard. I think that's the standard.
That's
way
the standard way. Yeah. So that's the one basic way. But then another way that a lot of guys don't do it is
you're coming in at an angle a little bit.
Sort of. So this is what the broke college kids do.
The broke college kids
who live on a herring lake.
Yeah.
They don't need to be in the tackle store every day. So believe it or not, it actually works this way too, upside down.
Let me see that puppy right there. Now, all right. So what he did was basically the Texas rig, but you see me opening up the fluke. This is now what is normally the bottom. This is now the top. Why would the broke college kids do it this way?
It just works the same, and sometimes you can get a little bit better of a hookup because there's not as much plastic resistance.
It doesn't tear up the fluke as much.
Does it work the same?
Also.
I mean, same action.
Yeah, I mean
it doesn't
pretty
run.
much
In my
the
opinion,
same.
it doesn't run as straight, but the fluke running straight does play a big part. So on tournament day, I'm going to rig it like that way. But if I'm just going out fun and the fish are biting pretty good, I'm just going to rig it.
Yeah, that's just a little extra money saving tackle tip for it.
Okay. Oh, okay. So there you go. All right. Now, what do you guys think? And we do have these at fishnorthgeorgia.com on our online store. There's a lot I got to put on it, but we do have these. The winged fluke. Have you guys had a chance to fish it yet? And if so, what do you think about it?
I've tried it a little bit. I haven't done much with it yet. I tried throwing it like a regular fluke, and it wants to it's got those wings on it, so it'll just be like,
it wants to ride up.
It'll be working like a wake bait.
Yep.
But
I know a lot of guys that
think
put
it
them
can
on
be
like
pretty
ball-headed jigs and they're going deep. They're using it as a forward-facing sonar bait. I know a lot of guys that do that.
We haven't really had the chance to kind of use it that way just because of the time of year. But I think once that time of year comes where they're biting a Demiki a little bit better, I think it will be a pretty good bait.
So coming up like that. Now you also got your standard circle hook or drop shot hook or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so this is something that we do sometimes when it's really tough, just to because you can throw this one on lighter line too, but obviously that's a bigger hook, and sometimes the fish get in a little bit of a finicky phase. So another thing we'll do is we'll nose hook it, where you just basically hook it through the nose, and you can put this on a whole lot lighter line, and you can throw it a lot easier. Kind of gives it a more finessey look, kind of makes it dance a little more. So especially late summer, whenever the fish are really beat up on and it's tough, you can get some lighter line in there, which you can use lighter line on this as well. But I just sometimes this action can switch it up, especially going into the fall, and just give you some key bites.
I think that's the way Jimbo on your guide service. I think he knows hooks them
Yeah, I think if you're a beginner and you're not quite an expert at I guess letting the fish eat it, setting the hook kind of thing, This one is really simple. You just hook it through the nose, and then whenever they eat it, all you do is just reel it in. It's a
And just
circle
let the
hook, so
action.
it hooks itself.
Yeah. All right. So, Zach Lamb, we're going to finish your question, but because I have a celebrity on here right now, and I'm getting ready to indoctrinate these boys into a tradition that we have mostly on the Thursday night shows. But Big Al, there's the boom. You guys know Big Al? You ever watch the MPFL live weigh-in? The guy that's doing all the talking, the big ugly guys up there, and he goes, "There's the boom." All right, that's Big Al right there. But what Big Al does is he gives us a hot woman from the 80s, 70s and 80s, early 90s. So his selection tonight is Pamela Anderson. Now, what are you, 22, 21,
Yeah,
22?
22.
Do you even know who the hell Pamela Anderson is?
She
They
related
don't-
to Brooks Anderson?
She's not related to Brooks because I promise you she's not. Brooks is not that chesty. All right, Baywatch.
Oh.
Baywatch, the blonde running down the
Yeah.
beach on Baywatch.
Yeah.
Where your right eye and your left eye are going counter.
Mhm.
You know who we're talking
I
about
know who
now.
you're talking about now. Yeah.
All right, you got to rank Pamela Anderson on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the absolute hottest and 1 being the absolute lowest.
10.
She was probably a 10 before Tommy Lee got a hold of it.
So are we basing this off of during the movie or now?
We're
Not
basing it
now.
off of boobs, if we're being honest.
Uh,
Pam Anderson, you really don't know the best intro to a TV show. She's on the beach in that red.
yeah.
Y'all really don't know who Pam Anderson is.
I got like a kind of a picture of the
Michael Porter
ad.
says she's a 6. She might be now. She's older now. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. You guys are young. So we're trying to incorporate the younger generation into this. Who's the hot chick on the market right now as far as TV goes, movies? Come on.
My friend Brooks, he raves about this Livy Dunn girl, but I don't really know
No,
who
Tate.
she
It's
is.
Tate McRae.
Oh, Tate
Tate
McRae.
McRae,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe there's
Tate
a couple
McRae,
of them he
she's
raves
a-
about, but
She's a pop
that
singer.
must be one of them.
Brooks really likes her.
Tate McRae.
Yeah.
So that's who we need to look into.
Yep.
Because we're some creeper old guys. Around here. I mean, I got to have something to do in this tackle shop when nobody's in here. So Tate McRae.
Yeah. Brooks will tell you a little bit more.
I'll ask Brooks about that. So what was your ranking on Pamela Anderson there, Blake?
10.
What about
10.
yours? You're in our age group. Pam Anderson, be honest.
Which year? Before Tommy or
After Tommy's a little bit
It
different.
don't matter. She's
Listen,
still
no,
hot.
it does matter.
Oh,
It does matter. Oh, Donkey Kong there. We're talking before Tommy.
Yeah, no,
10. She was a 10. All right. My wife watches this show, so I'm just going to say, Amanda, I love you, and you're the best. I give her a solid 9.5. Solid 9.5. So there you go. Big Al selection, Pam Anderson. So next time you guys come on here, you got to be ready for this, all right? Because,
We'll be ready.
you'll be ready. And you need to have your suggestions in hand. You got to come in here locked and loaded, boys.
I think we gave you a pretty good suggestion tonight.
What
Tate
was it
McRae.
again? Tate?
Tate
Tate
McRae.
McRae.
I don't even know who that is.
Does she sings.
Yeah.
She sings pop music. I don't listen to pop
Yeah.
music and all that. So excellent. These Michael Porter, these are young guys. They don't know. Listen, everything was better than in the 80s and early 90s. Y'all's music today sucks. I'm just going to say it right now. And your women, if that's what they are, you never know these days. We knew what Pam Anderson was. Ain't that right? All right. So anyway, let's get back. Go back up there. He was wanting to know Carson Fowler, yum. Yeah, both of you right now. Looking at, I want you to see that camera right there. Look at that camera and say yum.
Yum.
All right, you look into your camera right there and say yum.
Yum.
Okay, I'll tell you what that means afterwards.
Oh.
Brian Marcuson says I'm old, but that Livy girl is a 10. All right, well there you go. Hey, we'll check it out. Zach Lamb. So we were talking about flukes, but what's your setup? Rod, reel, line. How you hook? We went over how you hook the fluke, but what kind of rods and reels, line, and all that are you throwing it on?
I mean, you can really there's all kinds of different ways. We've done it on bait casters. We've done it on spinning rods. It's really just whatever you're more comfortable with. There's guys that compete with both that we go to school with.
I like my personal my fluke setup that I really really like is it's a Dobbins medium. I think it's a Champion XP. I think is what it's called, but it's a medium heavy fast action. It has a really good tip, but also a really good backbone. So when I can let the fish eat it. Let that tip kind of fold in when he eats it, but then also have that backbone to know I get the hook in him.
Okay.
And then also I throw it with a Shimano DC, and that helps throw that lighter hook and a lighter or just no weight on a soft plastic and a hook.
Right.
Helps me throw it a lot farther distance.
You guys are going to understand that this show, I am so this is not a NASCAR show, but I get tickled. A guy comes in, just the average everyday guy in the shop, and I'm like, "What are you throwing that on?" Well, it's the X282965, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
Is it medium, heavy? What are we throwing it on? So, let's talk about your future. All right, because we're getting hour and 40 minutes. Guys, if you've got any other questions for these young guys, definitely throw them out there. I'm going to ask them. But the future, what does the future hold? Y'all got a few more tournaments. Of course, you got to fish for the rest of this year. But in essence, this is the end of your college career. So do we have plans on fishing the Opens, NPFL, going out, what's the plans?
I think right now I'm just kind of sitting back and waiting. Obviously, we have the bracket coming up, see how that goes, see what things come about from that. Then also just with all this, the thing the NPFL just released and what Bass is going to do, what the BFL is going to do, what MLF is going to do. We just kind of want to see what's going to happen.
You want to see how the landscape
before you just go ahead and
fades out,
buy into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as fishing goes, I would say the same thing. I mean, we got to see how the bracket goes. I mean, we would both love to be able to fish the Opens, I'm sure, depending on, money circumstances, because,
well, let's say if Mr. Hinkle's going to write that check, that makes it a lot easier, right? Decision-wise and all that. But do you have aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I think we
but I say this because a lot of guys play college football or college baseball, whatever. But at the end of the day, they know they're not going pro in that. You guys could chase that dream still after college.
Yes. I mean, a lot of other circumstances too. If we were to get, jobs in the fishing industry too.
Or he gets married.
Or he gets married,
over there.
No, but I mean, like we were saying earlier, if one of us were to win the bracket and then end up being able to fish the Opens pretty much on a full ride, then I would say that the other one would try to help as much as we can.
Yeah.
To kind of get the other one, help them get paid fully too, so that we can both fish it together. Because like you said, that's how we've gotten this far, was working together.
Y'all like an old married couple.
Yeah, we'd have to do it together to make it. So
I like that. So Michael Porter with some good advice: go to school, get your degree, and fish.
That's right.
So y'all close to graduating?
We graduated in May.
You already graduated. What's your degree in?
Business administration.
Okay. All right. What's yours?
Mine's in sports management.
Sports management. What are you gonna do with that?
Well,
you're gonna be like
I can go into the fishing industry with it.
Yeah, I'm being serious. Yeah.
I've had some opportunity, or not. I mean, I don't know yet, but I'm hoping to maybe get a job in the fishing industry somewhere. So,
what would be your dream job in the fishing industry if you couldn't fish?
I would like to do something with college and high school anglers, just helping out the younger generation get more into fishing and supporting them as much as I can. So maybe somewhere with a company that's willing to, help that younger generation and leave a good name for themselves. Leave the company's name for the future generation that is going to come up and fish.
That's right. Okay. What about you? Business administration.
Yeah. Right now I'm working with the guy's name on my hat.
Are you a
project manager internship? So I'm just kind of seeing where that takes me for now, especially because I got so much things going on. He's a fellow fisherman, so he understands.
Yeah, and he's got a very well known name in our area in the fishing and all that. So again, we're trying to get that sponsorship out of him. So he's a great guy. He's fantastic and all that.
Yeah.
One of the best I heard out there, But seriously though, I mean, so you're doing that right now, interning with him and everything?
Yeah, so I'm interning with him, just kind of something because, you got out of college and we still had 3 or 4 tournaments left in the summer to fish when we got out of college. So it's really hard to just jump in the job where I'm like, hey, I need 4 weeks off to go to the lake.
I know. No, seriously, I know. And a lot of people don't think about that, but that is tough. And a lot of pros do that. They have to, you hear I'm a professional fisherman, but I know with the NPFL, at least, a lot of those guys have regular jobs or they own businesses.
Yep.
Now, owning your own business kind of helps you a little bit to be able to take that time off to go fish. But that is something you got to think about, not only paying your entry fees and all that, but being able to have a flexible schedule. And so that's good that you got that internship and he's allowing you to do that. So when will you fishing as far as college? When's that final event?
It's not until April.
Oh, you got time. Hell
yeah. Well, so MLF does their nationals a year later. So the bass season ends normally in May, June, and they'll have their nationals every year, August, September. But MLF has one fall tournament for college. So they have one more in October at Chickamauga. And then their nationals is not till next April at Wheeler Lake. So we have like a whole, it's almost like a reunion for us. We get to go back and do one more term with all our buddies a year later after graduating.
I get that. Do you like that though, it being so far away?
Wheeler?
No, not the lake, but the tournament itself.
I mean,
would you rather fish it like right now when you're hot instead of taking on it? Because you guys have all these rules, no information, stay off the lake, all that stuff. Would you rather just go straight into it the next month and fish it?
Kind of, sort of, but it kind of also gives me an excuse a year later to be able to go like hang out and like have a reunion with all my college fishing buddies.
Hang out with the guys again. Way. Okay, I got that. So, all right, guys. So listen, we're about an hour and 45 in, and these guys are still young, and I know their bedtimes are probably pretty early. So we're going to end this right now. I want to say this. I know you've been on the show, but it's been a long time ago with Ryan, and I wasn't here that night. So it was a pleasure meeting you, and of course meeting you. This is the first time I've met these guys, and I will say this. I had a lot of guys on here. You guys, you answered the questions very maturely and all that, and so it's very impressive. And what you've done, one day you're going to step back and you go, yeah, we were team of the year, Bassmaster, the overall team of the year 2024. You'll reminisce about these glory days and all that. But what you did is a hell of an accomplishment that a lot of guys that fish college, that they don't get to do it. I mean, you guys have done something. Has that sunk in? Has it sunk in?
I think it has a little bit. I think once this bracket's over, I think it's really going to like sink in. Like we actually did that,
Yeah, you should. I mean, that's something else.
I feel like it was always something that we wanted to really, really do. Like these past 4 years.
Yeah.
And now that we've done it, it hasn't really. I mean, it has sunk in, but it hasn't sunk in that like, hey, I'm actually going to go fish the bracket and go be on TV and.
But you
have
realize
a chance at winning it.
But forever on the internet or whatever the hell is we come up with next, you guys are always going to be sitting there holding that trophy up
That's
there
right.
as 2024 team of the year. So that's an impressive thing. And from an old fart like me, dude, I wish I was doing that at y'all's age. So very impressive that. So
I do have one question.
Oh, we got one question. Blake woke up.
Yeah. Okay. With the NIL and all that stuff, is it like college football? Like, are there guys getting paid? Because I've always wondered,
that's actually a good question.
If y'all win money at these college tournaments, does that go in y'all's bank account or does it go toward the school's program? Like, how does that work?
So any money given away at any of these tournaments?
Or the high school stuff?
So every school I think is different. Some of them, like you make zero, they pay your entry and all that and your gas, hotel, food, and you get to go to the tournament and you're basically paying them for that. But we're very fortunate at Emmanuel, and thanks to Coach Pam, she really fought hard for this, was that if you make, I think, over like $1,000, then 10% goes to the school. But we also do additional fundraising to pay for our events. So I think that kind of helps too, is like you fundraise and you show your support, whatever. You go out and earn the money to help pay for your stuff, and you get to keep some of it, kind of thing.
Miss Pam sounds pretty cool.
Oh, Coach Pam is awesome.
Coach Pam sounds pretty cool. Coach Pam.
If y'all are looking to go fish somewhere, Coach Pam would be the one to go fish.
I think we need to, Blake. We need to meet Coach Pam.
What about the NIL? Y'all
the NIL.
As
you
far
get
as
any NIL
I
money?
mean, there's not really a limit on
what we
can earn.
But you can.
But does that transfer into fishing, or is that just like the basketball, baseball, football?
You guys have the same opportunity as a football player or a baseball player at college. Like if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, dude, come fish at my college, and I'll give you a Lamborghini and $250,000."
I'm sure it's possible.
It's possible, but it hasn't happened yet, sadly.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it's because fishing is not your footballs and your basketballs where we're pulling in a ton of viewership, right? Compared to what it is. But I figured it'd be a good question.
This is Mike from Bass and Bougie. I guess that's how you say it. Bougie, Bass and Bougie. They need to be able to keep all of it, and I agree with that. I think that's it.
I don't think we've had any money.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. But again, all right. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. Appreciate you letting them come. You're the ride, right? Well, there you go. So you're in charge of getting them home safe. So that's a good. I want you guys to come back. I'd like you guys to come back in, say, a year or two. I want to see where you guys are at. To see what happens once you get through this bracket. And if you two end up fishing against each other, oh yeah, y'all got to come back. We got to talk about that. So, guys, listen in the comment section tonight. Appreciate it. Some great stuff. Saw a lot of new names. Now join us this Thursday night, because my main guest Bassmaster Elite Rookie of the Year, Trey McKinney is going to be on. We're going to pipe him in. He won't be in studio. We're going to pipe him in, and we're going to pick his brain. So far, nothing's off limits. Now, of course, every person that comes on, I ask them, hey, there's things that we don't want to talk about. So I'll kind of work that out with him. But I'm looking forward to talking to this kid. I met him down at ICAST this year. And if nothing else, the kid can fish. So we definitely are going to try to pick his brain to get you guys as much juice as possible. So, Blake, appreciate you tonight doing the work, especially after working a hard day today. And I'm going to go home. And I'm going to think about Pam Anderson and have me a drink. You guys do the same. I'm really not. I'm going to go home and play with my dogs. But listen, you guys, you know why I put that in there? Because my wife is probably still up laying in the bed watching it, just taking notes. Oh, hell no. Listen, one other thing. Listen, women never forget. Yeah. This will get brought up. If I get caught saying that about Pam Anderson in 10 years, I'm not going to take the trash out. And she's going to say, Dad and Pam Anderson, they don't forget. So remember that stuff. But you guys, hey, have a good evening. Join us Thursday night. And if we don't see you, we'll see you later on the next live. Well, appreciate you guys.